Another week of the Cat and Fiddle. I was a bit disparaging of this climb last time, wasn't I? It's amazing, it's absolutely amazing. It's got some grandeur about it. You can see Manchester down there, believe it or not, quite a long way. Nice little reservoir. And you can see the weather station, the pub at the top. Fantastic. Got about 20 minutes to my start time, so time for me to roll down. The rain is due to come in, so it may get bleak very quickly, but I'm just happy I'm here. It's days like this that remind you what's amazing about riding your bike, and and why you want to fight the landscape. I think that's the tagline of this thing. Dominate the landscape is the Hill Climb Project's tagline. Right, I'll stop rambling. Off I go. Well, welcome back to the Cat and Fiddle. You may be thinking I've seen this before, and yes, I did do this race back in May, so here we go again. If you didn't watch the other video or you don't know the stats, this climb is 10 kilometres at approximately 3.2%, so that does mean you do over 300 metres of elevation during it, but it is very steady. I disparagingly called it a false flat last time, and yeah, I mean it's basically flat in it. This is a time trial in all but name. I'll get the admin out of the way before I do anything else. As you can see, this is a long video. I've done this in real time. I've not done a side-by-side of the two race footage the videos because I find that quite overwhelming, and I did the race and know what's coming, so I can't imagine you guys are happy seeing like 4 different perspectives on a race at any given time. So what I've done instead is I've just labelled the stats, as you can see. So June, that's the current race. May, that's my previous effort. And you can see roughly where I am on the course versus myself, roughly how much power I'm doing, etc. They're not perfectly lined up, I'm afraid, but hopefully near enough. All of that is great retrospective explanation for the fact that I didn't save the video from the last one. So here we are. This is where you just start to get out of Macclesfield and it starts to feel like like a pass in the Peak District. The road gets better, which is always a nice sign. When the surface improves, you're on the Cat and Fiddle now, you're properly going. You might be thinking, okay, you're doing it again. What are you doing different tactically? And really, I've got 2 main tactics. One was to not have whooping cough the week before. That was a big tactic of mine. And the second one was to not do chain gang the day before. That was another big tactic. So, with those 2 tactics, I've now got to draw out 20 minutes of commentary for basically saying I felt better. So yeah, if you want the short version, skip to the end, know that I had better legs, so it did better. Brilliant. Fancy that. Now, being serious, I did have a different pacing plan, and it wasn't long into the race in June, even here, that I started to think, I'm going too easy. So you can see I've kicked up, well, if you go back 10 seconds, you can see that I was doing sort of 320, 330, and I thought, no, do more than this. Several reasons. One, the first 2k of the Cat and Fiddle is the steepest bit, so physics suggests you should put down more power on the steep bits. 2, I had a slight tailwind here, so whilst that doesn't necessarily mean you should do more power, it means I can get out of the saddle with impunity, and for me, that's an easier way of putting power out. So I thought, I can get out of the saddle and not stress about getting low, getting aero, because it wasn't a true tailwind, but like a cross tail, and that was the best I was going to get. This is the time to get out the saddle, if anything. And I kicked it right up, I was doing 360 sort of watts there, and that's it's not the sort of power I would tell you was sustainable for 20 minutes, if I'm honest, but I'd come to terms in my head with the idea that I'm going hard until the rolly undulaty bit, which is about 15 minutes in. And if I'm totally dead there, whatever, I can limp to the line, but really give it all the beans until then. And that suited me quite well, actually. Beautiful evening, as you can see. It's cloudier than last time I did it, and it was a bit cooler, but there'd been threats of thunderstorms and torrential rain, and actually it was stunning. And When you watch the camera footage back, I'm actually partial to an evening like this, because the clouds blocking the direct sunlight, they make for much more interesting lighting. I think it's quite flattering to the landscape compared to just having complete blue skies, unimpeded. It's nice in its own way, isn't it? But this is very pretty indeed. That lady said hello to me as I walked past. She was very nice. So it was a great starting lineup this time. When I first did the Cat Fiddle, I think I told you that 60 people signed up, and in fact it was like 59 had signed up, but 50 came or something. And this time it was only 32 that had signed up. But it's not about quantity, is it? It's about quality. We had Dame Sarah Story on the line. Now, I'm a fan of cycling, and I'm a fanboy unashamedly. I was just totally starstruck that Britain's most successful ever Paralympian was pinning on a number for the same race as me. That was incredible. I was fully starstruck leading up to it. Let me tell you, once I got on the climb, completely forgot about anyone else there, Dame or not Dame. I was just focused on me cycling this hill, and it was only on the way back down with Peter, who, by the way, bigger celebrity than Sarah Story, I saw someone go past and I went, oh, they look fast, and Peter was like, yeah, that was Sarah Story. Oh, well, yeah, I forgot about that. Still incredible. Also Finn Graham, who's a multi-time world champion Paralympic track and time trial cyclist, I think. Anyway, you know, a stacked line, and then of course my mate Peter, and Chris from Backpedal, who I very rudely nodded to while I was warming up, but it was about to be my start, so I did a UE and got on the line. And then, as I say, I just totally forgot there was anyone else. I was going for pizza after this, so as soon as my race was done, I was like, right, time for pizza, down the hill. So here we are approaching what in my head is always the end of the steep bit, this first corner where you do a major change of heading. If I had a cross tail before this, I end up with a full-on crosswind for pretty much the rest of the course, in my opinion, and there was a giant panda waving at me. Why wouldn't there be? This is hill climbing. There are cowbells, there are giant pandas, there are children with pots and pans. You'll see them later. So yeah, this is pretty much a cross tail, and from here onwards, I've decided to stop trying to do the aero hoods position. Cyclists will know what I mean, but it's basically holding your lever hoods and trying to get your elbows as low as your wrists. I think I'm quite good at that position whenever I'm riding flat. Here's my first catch. Nice, man. So I think I'm quite good at that position for long flat rides, but when I get really exhausted, you're on the rivet. I always see photos of me at hill climbs and my elbows are way straighter than I want, and I think I'm aero, but I'm not actually aero. So this time I've compromised and I've let myself do what we call the aero tops position. So I'm holding the top of the handlebars, which is much narrower, and it's because it's nearer, it's easier to get your elbows down low. The trade-off is your head ends up slightly higher, but I thought it'd be much more sustainable for this. So that's what I'm doing for all of this. And if you don't want information about my testes, please skip ahead 20 seconds. Also, my left ball still hurts sometimes when I ride the bike, and it's only when I do very intense efforts that involve a lot of saddle pressure, hard. But the aero tops is slightly easier on my ball, which is a relief. Nothing sinister going on. I could probably do with a renewed bike fit, as clearly my physiology has changed slightly, and this one doesn't suit me so well. But you know, once every couple of weeks, do really hard 20-minute effort, my ball hurts, I take ibuprofen, and it's fine riding my bike otherwise. If you tuned out because of testy talk, you can tune back in now. I always think that this bit is where the rolly part starts, and yeah, you wish, mate. You wish that 8 minutes in, you were already mostly done. Because it does flatten off for just a second. And it's a good opportunity, depending on your approach to riding this, to either snatch a little bit of recovery below threshold, or gain speed. Now I was feeling quite good, so I went for the gain speed approach, but you can see I do even drop down to about 200 watts, which is pretty low, but not for that long. And I knew it was because I wanted to kick before coming into this second ramp here.
and I could see a rider, and again I'm thinking, don't be a bellend, don't attack and look like an idiot. So I really wanted to make sure my power was sustainable. Little kick to get past him, 400 watts, fine. And there we go, around we go, and onwards. This is the point in the ride where I started thinking, you can sit at a higher power than you are. So do just keep pushing. I knew that there was a lip, and then another false flat, so I thought, right, push onto the lip, push onto, you know, over 350 watts. I've never sustainably done 350 watts for 20 minutes, so I knew I couldn't do that for the whole time, but I can do bouts of it and I can recover pretty well, so don't ride it like it's steady state. It's not Zwift in erg mode. It is a race where you use the road around you to your benefit. Now on the left here you see some supporters, including Rhiannon. I decided this time that I wasn't going to look up in any capacity because I couldn't quite cope with losing my aero position and stuff, but you can see in the pictures I do wave to Rhiannon and I keep my head down, and you can all assess and debate whether you think I'm actually aerodynamic or not as I come past in these pictures. And as you go through this area you end up going uphill again, so I didn't need to stay that aero for that long. I'm really content. If you see my June stats, I'm really content with the speed. That's the only stat that matters. By the way, the heart rate disparity is hilarious. If I haven't banged on about it quite enough, don't have whooping cough just before an event. Heart rate's useless. It's a useless metric. We all know it. But yeah, if you've been ill, you do have a high heart rate. Fancy that. Here you can see my shadow. You can see that I get out the saddle. This might be the first time I've properly got out the saddle on this, and again, it's pushing over this one lip. Just trying to keep speed, trying to keep momentum. Sometimes these days I feel like when you get out the saddle, you see yourself slow down too much and it's not actually worth it. It's false economy, higher watts, but you pay a penalty. But here I knew it was my only way of really carrying momentum up and over this section. I should say that in the 2 weeks leading up to this, I've been building a lot of confidence. By doing these events and some other stuff, I've been getting power PBs galore, and that really is like, you know, all-time power PBs. Maybe because of the way in which I'm doing the efforts. If you, for example, if you go out for 3-hour rides and you do some hills, and some of them are 5 minutes long, but then one day you do nothing apart from go out and go full gas for 5 minutes, that will end up being your power PB, right? Because you've based your day around it, and I never base my day around any efforts, so perhaps it's not a surprise that in these events I'm getting power PBs. Even in Zwift racing, even if you know there's a 5-minute climb, you still have to mark the race beforehand and so on. So perhaps it's not a surprise that I've been getting these power PBs. By the way, I'm into the rolly section now, so my focus is just continuing speed. I don't mind if I see my power drop, but when my speed starts to drop, my power has to spike. That's the deal I do with myself every time. You're allowed to rest here as long as it's fast. The second it's not fast, you've got to pull your finger out again. So that's how I choose to ride this whole section. So as you know, last week I did a power PB for 2 minutes, 500 watts for 2 minutes. I was pretty chuffed with that. The week before I did 405 watts for 5 minutes. That is 6 watts per kilo for 5 minutes, which has been a target of mine for a long time. And what you may not know is that last Sunday I went out to do 3 hours as hard as I could, and I did 300 watts for 3 hours. That's like 4.5 watts per kilo, give or take. Now the only explanation for all of those power PBs, and you know, if you're not that into cycling, I've just said a load of numbers that mean nothing to you. What I'm saying is that over short and long efforts, I'm putting out my best ever power numbers. I am roughly my standard weight, 67 to 68 kilos. I'm not the 66 that I got to during lockdowns when, I don't know, I just wasn't eating enough probably. I've stopped even thinking I should be 66. It's not where my body sits. I don't care about winning these events enough to want to starve myself. So, yeah, just like I don't care about having a light bike. I know people are making jokes about it. My bike weighs 7 to 7.5 kilos, depending how I set it up. If you think I should get a lighter bike than that, you need to get over it. It's fine. Putting out those power PVs has given me loads of confidence to think that actually, as long as I pace it right, to an extent, I can just suck it up and keep going within reason. Maybe I am stronger than I've ever been over these sort of efforts. Maybe I'm just focused on them. I don't know. All I know is I'm really enjoying doing them. This hill climb series, I don't want to get too preachy about it, but it's made me love hill climbing in a way that I didn't before. I've enjoyed them as something different, but I've always said on this channel, I feel like my favourite thing is going out adventuring, 8 hours in the saddle, 10 hours in the saddle, and hill climbing is just a way to spice things up, keep it fresh. Next week, I'm not doing anything for the solstice because I would rather do a hill climb. It's not a bad thing. The weather's been abject in the UK, hasn't it? So it's hard to be excited about going out for 12 hours knowing that it's almost certainly going to rain on you and you're never going to be particularly warm. So that's kind of killed my love of it this year, doing the really long rides. But this isn't a sad story. This is a positive story of me really finding a passion for something else. And I'm totally disinterested in anything tech related. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't like bikes. I unashamedly have no interest in bikes beyond cycling off them. So I am going to continue doing these to the best of my ability for me. And if I come third or I come 10th, if I'm putting out good performances and enjoying them, I'm really, really happy, which is what's happening here. Through this rolly section, which is just about to come to an end, I have kept it within myself pretty well. I've over-undered, and I've let myself have pretty low unders, as long as I carry momentum. But unlike in May, when I had to do that, because otherwise I was going to die, it was like, do that or get off the bike. This time, it was a really calculated effort, knowing that I had a strong finish in my legs. But this rest, it'd be better to take this rest now while it's downhill than do a weaker finish, if that makes sense. So, happy with that calculation, but as we come round here, I was mentally preparing myself for knowing that the final hard 2 or 3 minutes, it is upon me, and I have no choice now. I've held that power back earlier, so I owe it to my earlier self to put this out really hard. Twice you'll see me get too close to that line. I didn't cross it, I just put my head down because I was doing, aero tops, and I'm not delighted with quite how close I was straddling the middle. Now there's nothing behind me, so that's fine, but I appreciate if you're a motorist coming the other way and you see a cyclist right on that line, you have to have a lot of trust in me to believe that I know where I am. You can see at this point how much time I've put into my May effort. Because of the way Garmin Verb works, the track doesn't actually end for the May effort, it just shows you where I was up to when I finished my June effort. And also I gave myself a head start in May by accident. These videos are getting hard to make, by the way. Verb is working less and less, my laptop can handle DaVinci Resolve less and less, so at the moment I'm watching this raw footage in Media Player and hoping what I'm talking about roughly overlaps when I put the voice track in DaVinci Resolve. I think we'll be near enough. But I'm not watching the rear view footage at all. I hope it's nice, guys. I don't have it. Okay, I'm pretty happy with how fast it looks like I'm going here. Okay, I'm only doing 1 or 2% gradient, but, looks fast, doesn't it? Sky's beautiful, by the way, through the clouds. I'll say it again. Lovely. You can see that it has been raining up here, but I didn't get wet, which is always good. This is the point at which I have to stop getting carried away, because I convinced myself that the finish is just around this corner, and it is not. There is one more big swooping sort of bay area, not a bay, whatever you would call this sort of valley, inner valley, and then you go around a second corner and see the finish. But still, the end is nigh. It's like the end of an FTP test, because I know that I'm going to do somewhere around the 20 to 22 minute mark based on I don't have any useful metrics on my Garmin. I literally just knew that I was set off at 7:18 and it was like 7:36 or something, 7:37. So yeah, based on that, I was doing mental arithmetic as I came around here thinking, well, push on, mate. You're nearly done. You might be near 20 minutes-ish. 20 minutes would be an amazing time if I could do that. Never believed it for a second. When I thought I might be near 20 minutes, in my head I was going, well, there must just be more roads than you think, because there's no way you're doing a sub 20 minute up here. Don't get carried away, Nicholas. Here you go, time number 2, that I'm a little too close to that line. It's fine, I can see everything that's coming, but when I watch it back, I wouldn't advocate doing it if I were you. So there's not much more to say, my brain's going a bit blank. I really wanted to do 400 watts from here onwards, and I just did not have it in me. But frankly, I think I've earned the right to not quite have 400 watts in me from here to the finish. I did it for a little bit, and then I wasn't going quite as fast as I thought, so the finish isn't quite as near as I thought, and I was thinking 2 things. 1, you want to be sustainably fast, and it's better to do 350 from here to the line than to do 400, blow up and crawl. And 2, around this corner everyone's going to be able to see you, so don't humiliate yourself. Save all of your power for when people might see it. By the way, something my Uncle Glenn, who's a great fitness hero of mine, told me when I was younger. He said, if you go into the gym, there's nothing wrong with 50% of your motivation being vanity. It keeps you going, as long as you remember to do it functional as well. Be vain, like, do whatever keeps you going. So, vanity here as well. I saved my kick for the end, and it helped me pace, just so that I looked a little bit cooler. We'll assess whether you think I actually do look cooler or not. As I round this corner, you see the weather station, and now I'm thinking, right, everything you've got, unfortunately everything you've got is very, very little. That's fine. Build up speed. Try to keep it relatively aero around here. Final time too close to this line. I wanted to take the shortest path possible. Scared a BMW driver a little bit, I think, as I come around here because I was a touch too close. And then it's all in. On the drops, out the saddle, head down, bang, 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 throwing the bars around. I hit 600 for a little second there, so you know, pretty good for me. I'll take that. So there you go, final time was 20:59, so just below the 21. I'm absolutely delighted with that. That got me 3rd place. I cannot believe that I got 3rd place, just 45 seconds down on Finn Graham, the world champion para-athlete and above Sarah Story. This isn't why I do it, but that's phenomenal. My power profile you can see here, I did 344 watts for 21 minutes. I have never, on a power meter I believe, done that power for that duration, and that gets me an estimated FTP of about 330, which, 4.9 watts per kilo. I wouldn't quite be at the 5, would I? I am chuffed. Big shout out to Peter and to Chris as well for both setting exceptional times on this climb. They were fast, they were brilliant, so well done lads. Thank you very much for watching. Nick! Here's a last clip of me.
Go, 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 go! Go on!
And like a Marvel post-credits Easter egg, please enjoy this clip of Peter attacking me on the descent. I had to do over 600 watts to catch him. He was just like, I'm not warm. Absolutely banged it. Cheers, Pete. Peter, tell the camera how you did. You might have got a faster time than I did last time, right? Oh, you did very well though. Oh, I can't remember. Okay, still, very good.